for discussion, I'd like you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you all please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. James Hagedorn, where are you hanging? James, would you honor us with prayer?
Do I have to use the microphone, John?
We can do it either way you want to go.
I think I'm going to use that microphone.
Okay?
It's important because you two are very important.
Yes.
Thank you for standing. We have two very, very important people in the world today, and that's the woman here and the man. So my prayer is not going to be very long, because we as Indians know who we are, and we're still here. They have did everything to get rid of us, but we're still here with very proud leaders, right here, very intelligent. And that's what my prayer is going to be about. Why Creator gave us the job description of the Blackfeet. He said to take care of the land and your people, and that's what they're doing. This land is holy, and I'm glad John said the Pledge of Allegiance. I very seldom say it, but to honor him, I'll say it. I said it. But I apostatuki. Humbukina. Umokanya, Nititapi, the real people. And that's, I'm going to include you. That's how we see Nititapi. Creator, I just want to talk to you today. I've been praying too long. Today I want to talk. It's good to see these leaders up here, especially the one by the door there, Creator, just walked in. Thank you for bringing back the Iniwa. He brought back the Iniwa. Thank you, Creator, for letting us move the way we wanted to move. Thank you, Creator, for putting the intelligence and the spirituality in this meeting. Creator, we're nobody but other than to serve you. This land was created for you. All the land that you gave the Indian people in America is still sacred Indian land, and I thank you. But I just ask that you bless these two people so they could take in all the goodness, all the love that us Indians have to share today. And I ask this because of this man that you took to heaven. His name was Martin Luther King last week. And Creator, I know that Daniel Inouye is looking up on this chairmanship here, the lady who took his place. But Creator, I just ask that you put in these men and these women's hearts and these children and these young people that are in this room that we are the real people, and remind us. Anya.
Well, thank you very much, James. I want to very much appreciate your prayer. And I want to welcome everybody here today. Good afternoon. It is great to be here in the law school, the new law school. It's the first time I've been here. It's a very impressive facility and a great place of higher learning, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here. Ching, it's also good to have you here. Okay. I'll have a special thank you to Maria Cantwell, as I said in my opening, for being here, for coming to this backcountry. Thank you, Maria. Maria comes from Washington State, so she understands some of the Western challenges that we have, particularly that are important to Indian country. She has 29 tribes in the state of Washington, and as chairman of the Indian Affairs Committee, she is our leader in the United States Senate when it comes to policy in Indian country. But we all know that every state's just a little bit different. Every state has different challenges. Here in Montana, we have some advantages and we have some challenges. Resources, natural resources in particular, can tend to be a positive, sometimes can be a curse. But the fact is that Montana is not alone. Many of the places in the West are blessed with vast natural resources that we utilize to live and improve our quality of life, whether it's at home or in businesses. Many of those resources are on reservation land. Also water, and working to get these water settlements across the finish line are a huge challenge for economic development in Indian country. Our tribal colleges and universities and the role they play in lifting us out of poverty in the 21st century is also critically important. So we need to empower Indian country to grow Montana's economy and develop the government relationships that we need to make things work in Indian country and out in Indian country. And that's something that we've been working on in the United States Senate, myself personally. I am the only member of the Montana delegation that is on the Indian Affairs Committee, and will continue to try to get the resources necessary to improve the lives of those folks that live in Indian country. Policies such as the Native American Housing Assistance and Self-Determination Act, NAHASDA, very, very important. It's a bill that streamlines housing assistance and lets tribes get access to homes, whether it's veterans or others, in projects throughout this country. Tribal education, as I said earlier, critically important if we're going to move into the 21st century and make sure that folks can be all they can be in the Native American communities. And then we're also dealing with a group of folks that serve at a higher rate in our military than any other minority in the country, and that's the Indian folks. And to be able to work with the VA and other Veterans Affairs Committee, another committee I serve on, with the Indian Health Service to make sure that we can improve access for Native Americans to serve in our military is critically important. So we'll continue to work to improve the economy, and that's why we're here today, to talk about issues that can work, and maybe we'll even talk about some issues that haven't been working in Indian country for Montana's tribes. We're going to hopefully hear from the folks at this panel for an hour or so, and then we're going to turn it over for questions from all of you that might have questions for us. So today we have the Montana tribes that are represented here today. We have Chairman Joe Durglo from Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribe. We've got Chairman Willie Sharp from the Blackfeet Nation. We have Chairman Rick Rosette with the Chippewa Cree Tribe up in Rocky Boy. We've got President Tracy Ching King from Fort Belknap. We've got Thomas Anquetel from Fort Peck. Chairman Darren Olcoyote from Crow. Acting President Winfield Russell from Northern Cheyenne. Little Sail Chairman Gerald Gray. Leonard Smith with the Native American Development Corporation. I got it mixed up here. Ivan Posey with the Montana Wyoming Tribal Leaders Council, and then Leonard Smith sitting on the end with the Native American Development Corporation. Everyone will be given a few minutes, and I will address that after Senator Cantwell speaks. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Maria.
Well, thank you, John, and hello to everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here in Montana today with my colleague, John Tester. I don't think I've ever told you this story, John, but when I won my second re-election, not to be political, in your first term, I was in Seattle and wanted to basically go to a location where my team was working to celebrate their great efforts of getting out the vote. And when I got to this establishment called the Alibi Room, there was a gentleman in there who swore that he was your cousin. And even though that first term of yours took a little while to decide, he kept saying, he's going to be declared the winner, and I think you should be the first to congratulate him. So if you remember that election and you remember the phone ringing off the hook at 2 or 3 in the morning, that was me trying to reach you. But I also want to congratulate you on this recent effort of yours, because you have continued to be a vital voice on the Senate Indian Affairs Committee. There are members of the committee, and then there are members of the committee who are there to show up and do the work. In our state, I think Senator Magnuson said it best, there are workhorses and there are show horses, and you have a workhorse. And the important work that he's been doing on the committee, besides getting us to come here this summer, we've only been to 2 states to look at Native American issues, Alaska and Montana, and certainly we look forward to what we're going to hear here today and to see over the next few days. As important testimony to what the committee should be focused on. We already have had a series of hearings on self-determination, on housing, on education, on where we are with the Cobell issue and settlement, how to get a Carcieri fix, a variety of things, and the committee is going to be very active this fall. But we remain focused on what we can do as a partnership to increase economic opportunity in Indian country. And so I'm anxious to hear from our various chairmen today about their ideas on that subject or any other subject. We definitely don't think Indian country is monolithic, so we might even have a divergence of ideas here. Certainly around the country you get a very different perspective. But Senator Tester has made it clear that he wants us to move forward on these water settlement issues, and we certainly are going to give great attention to that. So again, thanks for inviting me to Montana. Thanks for being such a great member of the committee, and thanks for having this listening session with such great attendance. I really look forward to hearing from each of the tribal chairmen.
Maria, thank you, and thank you for your kind statements. And we thank you for your leadership, because it's very critical as we move forward. So thank you very much. I'll tell you what we're going to do, folks. I want to have about 20 or 25 minutes at the end for participation from the crowd, and I want Leonard to be able to have a few minutes. So if you take all of Leonard's time and Ivan's too, then we've got troubles. So I'll quit talking because I'm taking their time right now, and we'll turn to Joe Dirgwell. If you keep it to 5 minutes, that'd be great.
Thank you, Senator Tester, and thank you, Senator Cantwell, for being here. It's important that leadership come and meet at the table, across the table with Indian leadership, so we appreciate you making that effort. Welcome to Indian country. Welcome to the Aboriginal territory of the Salish, Pend Oreille, and Kootenai tribes. These valleys hold thousands of years of history of our people. Through the years, many of our people have gone on to earn degrees at state institutions, tribal colleges, and universities all over the country. Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes support a strong higher education program through a long-running scholarship program. It's been 30 years now that our tribal college began. Today, more than 1,000 students from dozens of tribal nations attend Salish Kootenai College in Pablo. Education has been instrumental in helping our people find opportunities. In terms of economic development, that's long been a challenge in Indian country. Like many of the other Indian nations, the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribe struggles with a lack of infrastructure and capital. Despite these obstacles, CSKT has launched several successful ventures, which have opened new opportunities. A thriving private sector made of individual tribal member businesses is another key component of an improved economy. Our longest running venture is SNK Electronics, which employs more than 80 Indian employees who manufacture electronic components for various contracts. As SKE expanded, another technological company was launched, SNK Technologies. That venture led to other avenues regarding land and environmental restoration. We are proud of our successes. However, there are other areas that hamper our continued development. The Pablo water system is at capacity, and without an infusion of federal funds to provide for additional storage, the development of an industrial park is hampered. A lack of funds also limits key areas in housing, government, and education. Tribes depend on programs like USDA, HUD, EDA, ANA, and other federal sources for large infrastructure projects. When those sources are impacted by sequestration, Indian country loses. We understand that nationally the economic situation is a challenge. I'd argue that tribal nations have been in a Great Depression since treaty times. Our employment levels, health status, and personal wealth are among the lowest in the United States. Congress has already determined that some programs are exempt from sequestration. It is our firm position that programs serving the poorest of the poor should be exempt from sequestration. We ask this respectfully and with a story of how to illustrate how much a tribal nation can accomplish with a little support. Since 2011, the Confederated and Salish and Kootenai tribes have awarded 29 small grants to tribal member entrepreneurs using small amounts of seed funds provided by the state of Montana. Most of those awards were for $7,000 and are intended to help tribal entrepreneurs either start or expand assistance project utilizing Montana Indian Country Economic Development Funding, ICE funding. The Montana Department of Revenue deserves praise for their support of ICE funding, which helps nurture our growing pool of aspiring entrepreneurs. Grant applicants are required to provide detailed business plan with financial projections, marketing plan, resumes, personal and business financial statements, and matching funds or existing business assets. SNK Holding, a tribal corporation, has been providing technical assistance to many of those applicants. The number of applicants for these grants have been increasing, with 17 submitted in 2013. The review committee, consisting of 2 local bankers and Montana's Indian Equity Fund program manager, was impressed with the improved quality of this year's applicants and recommended full funding for 8 applicants and partial funding for 2 more. The variety of businesses receiving grants is diverse. Grant recipients for 2013 include Marengo Carpet Cleaning, Jitterbug Weed and Pest Control, Montana's Rustic Decor, La Cocina de Esperanza, Cahoon Construction and Fire, Native Spirit, Creative Dreams, Mission Mountain Concessions, and Straight Arrow Interior and Exterior Painting. These businesses resulted in 17 private sector jobs on the Flathead Reservation. Grant recipients from previous years provide an additional 50 jobs, with most of those businesses still operating today. One recipient used his grant to purchase inventory, which led to increased profits that enabled him to purchase another company. He now employs more than 10 people. My intention is to make the message of CSKT clear. The availability of seed money or funds for infrastructure development is crucial. CSKT is known nationally as a leader in tribal self-governance. When tribes compact federal programs under self-governance, more Indian people are employed, which results in a healthier local economy. However, federal cuts have slowed our progress. To overcome tremendous obstacles in our history, we intend to continue our successes. My recommendations for economic development and a stable tribal economy are as follows. Sovereignty matters. Studies have shown that tribal sovereignty is strengthened, tribal nations make good decisions. Support congressional action that improve tribal sovereignty. Exempt all BIA interior programs from further sequestration. Exempt Indian Health Service programs from further sequestration. Exempt those programs that provide infrastructure to grants to Indian country from sequestration, like USDA, HUD, ANA, EDA. Invest in Indian country. Tribal governments are developing nations which provide stable capital that allow tribal nations to make good decisions and thrive. Support policies that honor tribal trust responsibilities and commitments. Tribes in the Northwest have been harmed by an interior computer system funding model that does not recognize the unique responsibility for trust property and natural resources. I'm speaking of the Hazardous Field Priority Allocation System, IFPAS, a computer model. In all, $110 million have been invested in a model that harms tribes and tribal resources. In a time of declining federal resources, this investment is not necessary, nor effective, nor reasonable. Honor First Nations by providing reasonable resources for infrastructure, housing, education, and jobs. Later today, Senator Cantwell and Senator Tester will travel along Highway 93 to the Flathead Indian Reservation, along with other reservations throughout Montana. We expect they will see some of the state's wealthiest homes located across the lake from some of the poorest tribal communities in Montana. Indian issues are complex, move beyond what you can see from the road. Once you enter Indian country, dig deep to see the issues from the native perspective. CSKT has been on a long journey towards self-sufficiency. We hold in common many values of mainstream America. We seek good housing, solid jobs, good education, and an opportunity to be successful. As Americans, war veterans, taxpayers, and U.S. citizens, we do not think we ask for too much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Willie?
Good afternoon, Senator Tester and Senator Cantwell. Thank you for coming and into Indian country. Speaking on behalf of my respective tribe, Blackfeet, we are part of a confederacy. We have 3 other tribes in Canada. They are the Siksika, Baikalibre, the Piikani, Pigan, branch of our confederacy. Historically, on the east side of the Continental Divide was our territory. I know everybody claims territory, but that's where we were situated. In the Blackfeet Way, the Swedes, they call them the underwater people, which is associated with the water. It's very sacred in the Blackfeet history and the culture. Being the element of sacredness in the four parts of the universe and nature, we looked at water as a way of replenishing our people, and it was a resource that was very sacred and very dear to our people. The Amskapi Bikani of the Blackfeet believed that this was their land, which originates in Glacier National Park, which we never relinquished any of the beliefs that we believe, nor do we recognize the line that separates us from that territory. And on the southern end, the ceded strip, we don't recognize that either in the Lewis and Clark National Forest. Those lands are historically dear to us and our culture. We hold to them because of the sacredness and the origination of the headwaters. It is well attested that our waters that originate in our lands go off into several different directions. You have the Hudson Bay, you have the Gulf of Mexico, and then you have the Pacific Ocean that originate off of our land. And so it is very, a sense, something that we watch. In our olden days, we went out in the territory, hunted, gathered stuff in the winter. And so, bringing the terms to, in modern terms, when I got on the council, I began to hear a sunset clause. Well, what is the sunset clause? There was a mandate that said you had to come to a compact in a certain amount of time, which for us meant that there was no other recourse. And so, being a leader in a leadership, as all of us know, is difficult. So we have to go forward. In this day and age, you never know, like in a movie. You get a box of chocolates, you never know what you're going to get. When you go to court, you never know what you're going to get. You can get all of it, or you can get none. So with that, the respective leadership that I came onto in 2006 began the process of trying to sort it all out in a way that allowed our people to get the best deal. So through the course of the years, it's been a passionate item amongst our people, selling out the water, the notion of that. So we know that we're fighting dearly as a leadership to get what we can in a way that best assists us. All of us in any country are concerned about economic. We're no different. We have a 20-mile water project that we just completed. It services two communities, East Glacier and Browning. We hope to bring it on down the line if Cutbank will take it, but we don't know. So, but we are mindful of our community and the needs for the water. The water, in its sense, as a resource, benefits everybody. Amskapi Bikani, the Napikon, the Napiaki, the Siksapikwan, the Spikon. So what I mentioned here is that it benefits everybody in our culture. Black people, the white people, so there's a whole slug of people that come that are benefiting from the water. And so we're trying to work and be mindful of the people that other than use it down the line. I'm sure Senator Tester is aware of the need for it down the Highland. And so as a group, we're trying to work how we can fit and get the best deal. And so sometimes it's very disturbing, like when you're trying to assert your right in, for example, the gay treaty with Canada. They don't recognize it. I mean, bother to even include us in our water rights. Water originates on our lands, goes into Canada, goes back out, goes down the line. So we need help to try and get what we can for that. We need to turn that back into our own operators. We had the USDA come here several weeks ago, trying to encourage our young people to become operators, farmers, ranchers, whatever. So that's something that's promising, but we need to make it work, to make it, you know, instead of leasing our lands up to the Hutterites, we need to make our own Blackfeet people be the farmers, so they can return, you know, and get a market value on their land, their resource, the wheat, or whatever they're growing. There's a lot of potential that comes every day. Pulses, for example. Many people, I never did hear of pulses until I realized what they were for. Wanted to market them in our area, grow them, ship them in our, on a Burlington Northern, and send them to overseas. So, these are some of the things, you know, in the hub on the Highline, which all of us associate up to, we depend on the railroad. You know, so we can make it work. We just need the other factions and facets of government and the private industry to come and help to meet with tribes. There's a lot of potential. We have oil and gas, economic. And that's always a passionate thing. Speaking of fracking. But in this day and age, education needs to be there so that we can assist and move on, get things cleared up. So again, I want to welcome you and thank you, and Senator. And before I close, I want to say that on behalf of the Blackfeet people, welcome to our reservation when you come through in a few days. I hope your trip is enjoyable. I would like to say that it's good to be back at the University of Montana. I graduated here in '94, School of Education. Taught like senator for a few years and gave it up. But okay, thank you.
Thank you. I know we want to move on, so, but I just wanted to say, I couldn't hear what you said. I certainly know about pulse crops, and Washington has been a big beneficiary of it. So we have an agriculture bill, a section on pulse crops. So we've gone from, we're the leaders in peas and lentils, but also now we've gone to like the second or third producer in the entire world on garbanzo beans. So anyway, but you're right, not everybody understands pulse crops. So I had to enlist John to go to tell all our colleagues what pulse crops were and why they were so important. Because I knew he would get our amendment passed, and he did. He helped us get the amendment in the Farm Bill. So thank you for bringing it up.
And the Blackfeet, I've got to compliment on the water settlement, just like the Crow did a few years earlier. They've been negotiating hard on that water settlement, and hopefully we get that across the finish line. And Tracy's got the same kind of thing up with Fort Belknap Drive, so look forward to getting that one across the finish line too. Next we'll go with Mr. Rosette, if you want to talk about Rocky West Perspectives.
Okay, thank you, Senator Tester, Senator Campbell. Thank you for convening this listening session on economic development. We have two topics of discussion. One is infrastructure, the other is on our online lending business. And without infrastructure, we can't attract any business investors to our reservation. And I want to explain that the last 3 out of 4 years, we've been in a flooding situation that really strapped us financially. The morale of our reservation is way down. But we will continue to go on as a people of our reservation. One thing that really impacted our reservation is our water supply, water demand. One community, there's 27 homes tested for E. coli, fecal coliform, and it causes a lot of waterborne diseases that we have no control over. And I've been a certified water operator for six years, and I ran the water system for 12 years, so I don't know the importance of a water system and to provide potable water and safe drinking water to our people. And there's a lot of waterborne diseases in flooding situations that affected our wells. And it causes a lot of things like cancer, different things. We have a lot of cases of H. pylori on our reservation. So I ask you, senators, do you think we can attract new business to our homeland? The Congress has held many hearings on the excellent problems economic development in Indian country. You can enact on all the tax incentives you want, try and encourage businesses to locate on Indian reservations. Without this most basic of all aspects of infrastructure, running water, no business will locate on our reservation. We spent years in negotiations with the state of Montana, with the United States, and with our non-Indian neighbors to quantify our water rights and to deal with water right quality. President Clinton signed a Public Law 106-163, our Water Rights Settlement Act, into law in 1999. Among other provisions, the act included reservation of our reservation for 10,000 acre-feet of water from Lake Elwha, a Bureau of Reclamation reservoir that is 50 miles west of our reservation. The act did not, however, provide delivery systems to withdraw, treat, and convey the 10,000 acre-feet of water to us. We understood that the delivery of the water to my reservation will, while also serving our neighbors and number of off-reservation communities, would be authorized by subsequent piece of legislation. The federal government was true to its word, and President Bush signed the Rocky Boys North Central Montana Regional Water System Act into law in 2002. The act established a congressional authorized water project to distribute drinking water from Lake Elwha to meet tribal, municipal, and rural industrial needs for our Rocky Boys Reservation and for 7 counties in north central Montana. Chairman Cantwell and Senator Tester, to date, 14 years after the United States signed a historic water rights agreement with my tribe, and 11 years after enactment of the federal law to deliver the water to us, less than 20% of the federal appropriations required to construct this project has been received. When my people continue to suffer with waterborne illness, it's hard for them to believe that the U.S. kept its word when we settled our water rights in 1999. We were told drinking water was on the horizon. Many of the neighboring communities in north central Montana also have water problems. Some have been placed on boil orders. Department of Environmental Quality for having water that does not meet minimum standards. Since the authorization in 2002, the funding ceiling for the Rocky Boys North Central Water Project has increased from $229 million to over $350 million due to the application of annual index and factors by the Bureau of Reclamation. The efficient levels of federal appropriations and the impact of inflation are having a significant negative impact on our project completion. We have the funds that are appropriated to Rocky Boy each year. We only go about 3 or 4 miles a year, then we have to shut down. At that rate, it's going to take us forever. It won't be in my lifetime. So we need more funding. And I think we started out, we put the cart before the horse. We need to start on our water treatment plant. We started with the core. I thought we should have started with the treatment plant, which is going to cost quite a bit. But we thank you and Senator Baucus and the other co-sponsors for introducing the Senate Bill 1715, the Authorized Rural Water Projects and Completion Act, that will establish the U.S. Treasury a reclamation rural water construction fund, in which there will be deposited $80 million from funds otherwise destined for the reclamation fund. We think this is a great bill and ask that you both work for its enactment. And on our online lending, it does create a lot of jobs. We have in 2011, my tribe created Plain Green LLC, a tribally-owned business providing installment loans to qualified customers. It has been the most economic development venture we ever scholarships for our colleges. It's just provides a lot of services to our tribe, funeral costs, things like that. So our law and lending practices are consistent with federal law and operate pursuant to the regulatory code of online lending. The Chippewa Cree Business Committee. We are fully compliant with all truth and lending laws and tribal law and have sovereign immunity from the application of state laws and regulations. These efforts designed to pressure banks and payment processors to stop processing customer authorized transactions with major online lenders such as Plain Green, Macy's, and we ask your help in explaining to FDIC and CFP, PB, and others that our actions are illegal and are creating opportunity and jobs for our people that are essential to maintain. So, thank you.
You bet. Thank you, Chairman. Was that more staff? Thank you very much. President King, proceed.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Hester. Senator. Also want to thank Jeannie Sankador for the prayer. Appreciate it very much. And all our veterans who have served for this country. I think in Indian country, we're the highest in the nation that serve in the military. So very proud of our veterans in Indian country as well as the non-Indians, because our veterans are put in high regards because of their status as warriors. So we take that very seriously. I just want to, again, talk a little bit about, if you really look at economic development, go back to after World War II when the United States bombed Hiroshima and a few other countries. They in turn spent somewhere like 60 or 70 billion dollars back then to rebuild those countries, and that equates to about 183, somewhere around there, 180, 190 billion dollars today. So if we could have about 0.001% of that in Indian country, we'd be pretty well off. But you look at all the wars that our people have served since any war in the United States, they've served quite high, and they were used to capture their own people. The United States needed them to their expertise in their own tribes. Then I think they locked them up back in the 1800s, sent them to Florida, and so you know, I always say we've never had enough money to go by. I call it half-ass funding, because that's what it is. We don't. I mean, it's like I only get about half the money I need to get to Missoula here, then I gotta pass my hat around to get home. So
How much you need?
that's kind of the way the figures, you know, because a lot of our people served with high honors for this country. I believe that you know, one of these days we need our full funding for that. I was going to, I was hoping that Senator Cantwell and Tester could have visited Fort Belknap. I had some student at the Hayes Lodgeville Schools who's a junior. She was invited to talk at Senator Baucus's sessions he had last month in Great Falls, and so she gave a very strong message on meth, you know, how it's killing our people, and all she wanted was activities to do that. And like Rocky Boys, we do have online lending, and that provides, I believe we get 65 individuals since 2009 that jobs were created through our corporate side. And I believe that we're looking at strategies to continue to have economic development. We also work with Leonard Smith and on creating those types of jobs. And so I do know that back in the 1990s we had a U.S. Department of Justice grant that created entrepreneurship with youth that are in trouble with alternatives to incarceration. I don't believe in locking up kids because I've never seen a child fail in my life, but the system's failing. So that's what I always look at is we need to teach our young folks the job opportunities that and get them ready for colleges like here and other universities. Unfortunately, the only schooling I have is the School of Hard Knocks, and I graduated honors there. So I know all the tricks that people try to pull on me, but you know those types of economic partnerships with Leonard and other folks like the online lending, those help us to look at other opportunities. But today, a lot of people suffer from low self-esteem because of drugs, domestic violence, and other social ills that a lot of us want to work on to make sure that our people have better lives. And every day I see people when I'm home that are down and out that just can't make it with general assistance or 477. They just about the last week and a half or a week before their next check, you know, they're looking for like milk, you know, just a can of milk. That formula, and it doesn't make it, so you know you just reach out of your pocket and help them out, and you know just to get them that their young children by, you know, for another 2 weeks till they get on. So I'm hoping that we could get those types of issues worked on and have a plan with the help of Senator Tester as well as Senator Cantwell and others, you know, and have our. I don't need $1,000 an hour lobbyist. I have my students that I see and talk to. You know, they're my lobbyists because they live in the trenches and tell the real stories of what goes on. And it's us as tribal leaders that look for those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give you this, Stoney. Thank you, Ching. Very much appreciate your comments. Stoney?
Thank you, Senator Tester. Chairwoman Cantwell, it's wonderful to have you here. Before I start this important written testimony, I want to digress for just a minute and pay homage to my older brother, Caleb Shields. When I hear this water rights issues and stuff it brings back, Caleb's efforts working with Mary Pavel's former law firm, Sanoski Chambers, Saxon and Dreesen. They worked so hard to get 1 million acre-feet of water per year from the Missouri River for the Fort Pitt tribes in 1985. And believe you me, they took heat. The water rights are non-negotiable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the foresight and so forth of my older brother, who served 26 years on the council and is chairman of the Fort Peck tribes. I just wanted to bring that up, 1 million acre-feet of water per year. So Having said that, I'm sitting next to my friend Tracy King, and I know that the morale at the Fort Belknap tribe must be sky high right now with receiving 38 of our buffalo. I don't know, Senator Cantwell, but the Fort Peck tribes and the Fort Belknap tribes received the Yellowstone genetically pure buffalo in April, a year ago, April, a year and a half or so. Anyway, it's been a wonderful experience, and morale still is so extremely high right now at Fort Peck to have these genetically pure buffalo that hadn't seen the prairie and their natural environment in 130 years come back to the plains and live again in Indian country. We call ourselves Tatanka Oyate, the Buffalo people, and we hadn't had any buffalo on the plains in over 130 years. Genocide by the United States government was responsible for their demise. And then through an agreement between the Governor Schweitzer, Department of Interior, Fish and Game, and the tribes, our two tribes, we're bringing them back. And I want to see that increase because for the moral value of this thing, I don't want it to stop. Because when you're identified as Tatanka Oyate and there is no Tatanka anymore, you lose identity, big time. And that identity is so important to our people. I see it now, and it's gonna only increase the more this program gets rolling. So, having said that, I'm sorry to digress, but I'm about to embark on the testimony that was prepared for me by our illustrious attorney Ryan Rushi, somewhere in the room. Okay.
Looks like a lot of pages there. So it looks like a lot of pages there.
I'll try to go fast. Good afternoon. I'm Stoney. I'm a member of the Fort Peck Tribal Executive Board, and I'm
You
here.
don't have to go that fast. You're doing very well ad-libbing. So.
I'm here on behalf of the tribal chairman, our tribal chairman, Floyd Azure, who was unable to be here today with us. He's taken ill, sick, nothing serious. So, I would like to thank Chairwoman Cantwell and Senator Tester for holding this session on economic development in Indian country. I'm encouraged by your interest in this very important subject. Unfortunately, the federal government's commitment to economic development in Indian country has been merely symbolic at best. To the contrary, this nation's economy was built at the expense of America's indigenous people. Conditions in Indian country remain among the worst in the country. Nationally, Indians continue to rank at the bottom of every social and economic indicator: unemployment, income, infant mortality, life expectancy, chemical dependency, suicide. Whatever category you look at, Indians are at the bottom. Sadly, these conditions are a direct result of federal policies over the last 2 centuries. Although attitudes have slowly begun to change, the United States has yet to make an investment in Indian country like it has throughout the rest of the nation. Transcontinental railroads were made possible through federal land grants. Tax cuts have helped create the richest group of people the world has ever seen. The New Deal brought about infrastructure and innovation that remains unparalleled. Today, as Congress struggles to reach agreement on how to fund the government, Indian country is disproportionately affected. The idea of promoting economic development in Indian country is made all the more complex. How can we expect private development in Indian country if there aren't good roads? How do we inspire private investment with inadequately funded law enforcement? We know the answers to these questions. We have seen prosperity around this country, and we know that it comes about when government serves its people. Unfortunately, one group of people have been overlooked, a responsibility ignored. Today, I call upon the senators to live up to the promises made and to end the ever-growing string of injustices set down upon Indian people. I call upon you to demonstrate that great nations, like great men, do keep their word. great nations fulfill their trust obligations. The steps are simple. First, Indian Services funding should be treated as an entitlement and not subject to the broken federal budgeting process. Indian Services should never be subject to mandatory spending cuts or sequestration. The BIA and IHS have historically been underfunded. Sequestration has further imposed problems with furloughs, hiring freezes, and loss of institutional knowledge through retirement buyouts upon agencies that were already struggling. Even tribes that have assumed federal responsibilities under the Self-Determination Act have been underfunded. Congress must accept its obligation to fund Indian Services, including contract support costs, and agencies must be ordered to promptly settle claims when tribes are shortchanged. In order for growth to occur, reservations need safe streets and a healthy, well-educated, and properly trained workforce. Tribes can't be expected to educate and keep the peace with only half the resources. Second, Congress must provide adequate funding for infrastructure in Indian country. In the current environment, funding for infrastructure is going down. This trend must be reversed, and doing so will save lives, promote economic growth, and save the taxpayers money. For example, the road conditions in Indian country are among the poorest in the nation. Yet even before sequestration, current funding for road maintenance represents only 1/6 of what is actually needed. Our roads are crumbling and their useful lives are being shortened. Not only is Congress' neglect of reservations roads an impediment to economic development and an irresponsible use of tax dollars, it completely disregards public safety in Indian country. As a result, our people are dying on bad roads. Investment in infrastructure would literally pave the way for safety, growth, and security. The same is true for highway funding on Indian reservations. MAP 21 actually reduced funding for the Tribal Transportation Program by $14 million. Instead of decreasing funding, Congress should at a minimum support the President's proposal for the next highway bill. Our infrastructure needs are not limited to roads and highways. NAHASDA authorization will end next year and needs to be reauthorized. Fresh and wastewater facilities, as well as schools and health facilities, have all seen a sharp decline in available funding. Any hope of economic growth in Indian country demands that Congress fund necessary infrastructure to deal with the challenges of today and tomorrow. At Fort Peck, whether we like it or not, economic development is synonymous with natural resource development. Unprecedented oil exploration and development is occurring in the Bakken just off our reservation. Our services and infrastructure are struggling to keep up with the dramatically increased demand as a result of the neighboring boom. But we are receiving little in return. Congress has an obligation to fund adequate services and infrastructure to meet today's demands and allow for future development. And Senator Tester, if you recall, I testified to the shortcomings of the Bureau of Indian Affairs in Washington, D.C. in February of 2012. And I haven't seen any improvement yet, and we need to, because, I mean, it takes too long to get leases approved, to get lease assignments approved, to get rights-of-way approved. Now the BIA is actually telling a seismograph company that they have to do archaeological things we're not shortchanging the need for archaeological reviews, but on land that has been farmed for 70 years, you know, it's been tilled, plowed, planted, harvested, tilled, plowed. There's no teepee rings, you know, 70 years. And, you know, I think some of these restrictions are hurting us in oil and gas explorations. I just wanted to digress for a second there. Third, Congress must support tribes in their efforts to ensure that economic development is responsible. As I mentioned, natural resource development in eastern Montana and western North Dakota is booming. But we need to make sure that developing our natural resources today isn't going to stop us from having the ability to further develop our reservation economy, ways that are sustainable for generations to come. At Fort Peck, we have been doing our part, working hard to determine the appropriate balances between competing interests such as protecting the environment and economic development. Congress must do its part by giving federal agencies the resources and directives to assist and enforce these local, tribal determinations. In many cases, that means placing additional staff at the local level in processing positions. Fourth, tribes need a real source of capital for economic development. Grants and loans are necessary and serve good purposes, but we should no longer be deluded into thinking that they alone have the capacity to produce measurable change in the conditions of Indian country. Incentives for business investment in Indian country, such as accelerated depreciation and the Indian employment tax credit, are important and should be made permanent. But they are also not enough. Tribes also need the flexibility to pool federal funds from multiple agencies like EDA, SBA, and rural development to carry out tribally designed economic development programs without conflicting rules and restrictions. In short, Congress has the ability to move Indians from the bottom of every social and economic indicator through responsible governance and serious investment in Indian country and its people. The West was built through a congressional investment in railroad builders and land grant colleges. Land was taken from Indians for nominal compensation or no compensation. I changed that, Brian. And redistributed to entrepreneurs in order to build the most prosperous economy on earth. Congress can no longer ignore the fact that its policies relegated an entire class of people to the bottom of every social and economic indicator. I call upon you to bring upon a new deal for Indian country. I challenge you to invest in Indian country the same way that you have throughout the rest of the country. If there is a true desire to improve life on reservations, Indian country needs a new deal. A deal that will truly develop needed infrastructure, incentives that will really encourage private investment. We need incentives like the ones that helped Silicon Valley. We need grants like those that built railroads and colleges, not ones that helped us acquire rural FEMA trailers. It's time for a new deal for Indian country, and it's time for great nations, like great men, to keep their word. Thank you for this opportunity this afternoon. Safe travels. Please come and see us at Fort Peck soon. You know you're always welcome.
So can we get the person who wrote that to stand up so we can get him?
All I did is type Floyd's thoughts on it. It's all Chairman Asher.
All right, well, thank you, Tony. And next we have Darren O'Kyle from the Crow Country.
Well, good afternoon. On behalf of Crow Tribe, I welcome Senator Tester and Senator Cantwell to Montana, where we as tribes here in Montana, struggle. We don't have the big population base, to be a gaming tribe, and we have abundance of natural resources that we can utilize to help our people, because gaming isn't going to solve our problems here in Montana, because every corner in Montana has a gaming hall, and so we use that for more employment and more to help the local economy, but at the same time, as for tribes in your area, Northwest tribes, we're not going to be, gaming's not going to solve all of our problems. So we've looked at a more natural resource development, and you've heard some of that here. For us at Crow, we have been mining since 1974, coal mining, and we've it has created a lot of jobs, and half of our budget comes from revenue from coal. And right now we've signed another deal with Spring Creek, with Cloud Peak Energy on Spring Creek, and it's like 5 years out, but right now we're looking at, we've been out to the Northwest, visiting with so, you know, that dialogue was happening with us and Northwest tribes, and I know everybody has their opinion on coal ports and co-exports, but for us at Crow, you know, it's very, very important to us that, you know, coal development, and right now, we're looking at other, not just coal, but all of the above approach. We're looking at hydro. Right now we're doing a phase 2 study on hydropower, and we're looking at power purchase agreements with other companies, and we're also looking at coal to liquids, full carbon capture, and we've had a 3-year Department of Energy grant that we completed, and it looks at full carbon capture using carbon to make algae to do biofuels, and so we're not looking at just the development of coal, but also utilizing it, diversifying our resources so that we can continue utilizing coal, because coal, we have 9 billion tons of coal, and we want to, you know, utilize that to sustain our tribe. And in our history, it talks about, you know, during the creation, where the Crow, in our creation story, talks about utilizing the Badlands towards the end of time, and so in those Badland areas, that's where the coal is found, and so it's part of our history utilizing our coal resources. And we're also looking at bentonite limestone. We have abundance resource bentonite limestone, and we've also done a lot of studies on wind energy, and we have all the, I guess you could say, the infrastructure is there. We have all the power lines, 4 major power lines that go through our reservation. We have the railroad that goes through there. We have the major interstate that goes through there. We have pipelines that go through there, and we had and we have all the resources to help not only our tribe, but Montana and the U.S. government with their energy needs. And this coal to liquids is very important to us, because it's not only going to help us as a tribe, but it's going to help the U.S. government and not be dependent on foreign oil, because from this coal we could develop JPA jet fuel for the Department of Defense. And the Department of Defense have talked to us a number of times in the past about developing coal to jet fuel and utilizing that as a source of, you know, fuel for the Department of Defense. And right now, with you know, we're buying oil from foreign countries, and then we go back and make war on them. You know, it doesn't make sense to a lot of us, but here you have a source that comes from America, made by Americans, real Americans, and you know, you don't have to go to, you know, Saudi Arabia or anywhere else to get this fuel. It's right here. And we're looking at the Department of Energy grant that is complete. We have a partner who has done work with other countries, and so this technology is, you know, it's doable, but we need help, not only on the Department of Energy side, but Department of Defense, and, you know, your help at Senate to diversify coal development, because domestically coal is in the you know, very favorable in America right now. It's a bad 4-letter word back in DC. So we're wanting to diversify and utilize our resources as a tribe, because we've done it for 40 years, and it's helped us sustain up to this point. And you know, the war on coal is war on our families, our children, because the coal comes from Crow country. And right now, Centralia in Washington, we provide coal to Centralia, and Centralia is, you know, 2025, it's going to close. And right now, the cost of energy for your state, you know, we're providing low cost, you know, fuel to Washington. It's going to reduce your cost, but at the same time, 2025, if you go to hydro and wind, and it'll bring up your costs, and you know, people are going to. We're looking at not only coal, but also all of the above energy. And as I said, we also have farm and ranch. We have 2 million acres. Our reservation, 2 million acres. Some of the farming, you know, best farm ground in Montana comes from, you know, no offense. now we're making those upgrades. And we're also utilizing a lot of that water for industrial use, for the cold liquids plant. And I'm talking about not only the industrial use, but the commercial, residential use as well for under the water compact. And we're also utilizing a lot of our lands for ranching. In Montana, number one industry is farming and ranching. And right now, a lot of our people lease their lands out because there's no way they can go to the bank and get a loan, and because their lands are held in trust. So we're looking at ways to develop our lands as the tribal members. But we have a 47% unemployment rate. Our largest employer is Crow Tribe, and a lot of the revenue from the coal mine comes from, for Crow Tribe's budget, the majority comes from the coal mine. And we distribute payments to each member from royalties derived from the coal mine. So, I can say, more than half of our budget as a tribe comes from the coal mine. And then that's not including the federal budget or IHS or other programs that we utilize. But for right now, for the Crow people, our number one concern and number one issue is jobs. And number two is jobs, number three is jobs. And this is going to create, jobs, the cold liquids, all these energy projects that we're pursuing is going to create jobs, and that's what we're looking at. We talk about housing needs, we talk about, the IHS, and, we could talk about all those problems. But what I'm doing here is I want to become self-sufficient, so I don't have to be be dependent on IHS or DIA, so I can become self-sufficient. So I'm asking for your help, in all the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, and I've been out there talking to Northwest tribes on a number of occasions. I've asked them to come out to Crow to take, look at the mine, look at all the environmental work that's done out there, and the reclamation, because from the mining to the reclamation, from start to finish, it's all tribal members that do all the work. They do the mining, they do all the reclamation, and it's creating jobs. And so I asked that take time out of your busy schedules to come out to Crow and see the actual mine, because we can assume all we want, but once you're out there, you see the actual mine and all the reclamation work. And then because environmentalists aren't going to solve my problems. They could say, we're going to put a stop to coal mining, we're going to stop it, but what's their alternative for me, to my people, our Crow people? Because without coal mining, a lot of my people are going to fall through the cracks. And so I'm asking for your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. Appreciate the perspective, and we will go to Winter Russell, another Cheyenne.
Thank you. My name is Winfield Russell, acting president of the Northern Cheyenne Tribe. Good afternoon to the Honorable Senators Maria Cantwell and John Tester, and to thank you for the invitation to share a snapshot of the potential of sustained economic development on the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation. I also respectfully acknowledge the leaders of the tribal nations and other citizens here that are here today. Each tribal leader here today has a compelling story to tell you about the unique characteristics of their tribal membership in Indian nations, which for certain influence the systematic design of a strategy that will take down the barriers of successful economic development and will provide them a chance to become part of the global economy. My brief presentation describes the Northern Cheyenne Tribe's natural and human resources that can launch our tribe into a global network where the future offers prosperity, innovation, and collaboration, companies, communities, and individuals. It is a historic fact that the volumes of books, studies, case law, and other written works addressing the Indian problem are accessible by decision makers The point being that economic development continues to a high priority in Indian country and has been studied, and solutions tried among our families of Indian nations involving private entrepreneurs and government-sponsored strategies. There has been limited success in pockets of Indian country in the United States. A long-term strategy in our homeland involves taking stock of our natural and human resources and moving forward with building strong individuals by calling on the Northern Cheyenne families to get smarter and study harder in science, math, and engineering in order to reach a new frontier of knowledge where technology connects us to the world. This requires Indian nations to commit our tribal government to building infrastructure, safety nets, and institutions that will help every tribal member become more employable in a rural area limited in the employment opportunities. We must commit to creating our own businesses and initiatives to sustain our communities and for the future generations. The Northern Cheyenne land base consists of approximately 444,000 square acres, with 75% tribal trust land, 23% individual allotted trust land, and 2% fee tenant land. Most of it mountainous with harvestable timber, grazing, and farmland, with approximately 10,500 enrolled members and over 5,000 living on the reservation. Unemployment runs between 70 to 80% depending on seasonal employment. Most of the employment opportunities are dependent primarily upon federal funding through the tribal government, federal agencies such as IHS, BIA, the public school, tribal schools, Chief Donai College, a small tribal casino with limited payouts, and a few small private and cottage businesses. Our unemployment rate is beyond a crisis level that has been characterized as a national disgrace by many of our past and present tribal leaders. It's important not to dwell on the negative aspects of our economic condition and to engage all issues that may prevent economic development. We accept the challenge to improve the quality of life for our tribal members, and we are summoning our people to make national decisions concerning the development of our natural resources, to set specific long-range goals to manage our resources and schedule our time to develop and fulfill our economic strategy. In the energy sector, our tribe has proven reserves of high-quality coal, untapped coal-fed methane gas, and the potential for high power generation. In addition, we have settled our water rights and have a water compact with the state of Montana that allows our tribe to market water and to develop irrigated farmland. Furthermore, with a readily available youthful workforce, there exists a limited opportunity for the development of small industry, and with accessibility to bank loans, there is a potential for tribal entrepreneurs to develop small businesses. The tribal government must do its part by developing and successfully demonstrating that the tribe's legal system provides banks and other potential investors assurance that tribal codes are in place to reduce the risk of doing business in our homeland. Another huge underdeveloped human resource we have are the minds of our youth. The resource has limitless power to change the human condition on our reservation. We have a young population, most of whom do not have jobs. Our youth turn increasingly to drugs and alcohol and to other dysfunctional activities. There must be a mindful and deliberate tribal plan to to our homeland to help educate and explain to our tribal youth what world we are living in and what they need to do if they want to thrive in it. We need to increase positive activities for our youth and include addressing their fears and opening their minds to the power of new technologies to solve old problems. To assist in the development of skills that will enhance our youth's lifetime employment, to encourage collaboration of federal, state, tribal, and private stakeholders to educate our youth that their buying decisions and buying power are to political voice. And in our homes, our parents must improve their parenting skills because their education and character building begins. If we could divert some of the industry that is going to foreign countries, like manufacturing small electronic parts for a wage that is competitive with foreign markets, then we would succeed because we have manpower to do so on our reservations. We have a tribal college that could assist in the endeavor. Tribal leaders, parents, mentors, and community members have it in their power to encourage development of the resource, our tribal youth. We also need to encourage our youth to enroll in military, where they can tap into opportunities to acquire job skills and educational benefits. In closing, I respectfully request Senator Maria Canwell and yes, Senator John Tester. In closing, I respectfully request that you hear my message and request to assist the Northern Cheyenne Tribe and other Indian nations in this room this afternoon. Do not let the urgent unified voice calling for sustained economic development in Indian country go unheeded. Every solution begins with a compassionate thought to help assist in moving our tribal people in the 21st century. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Winfield, thank you very much for being here. Next we have Gerald Gray, who's the chairman of Little Shell, who has been working on recognition for 3 or 4 generations, maybe
A lot of decades, yes.
Yes, a lot of decades. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Gerald Gray, Chairman of the Little Shell Tribe. As you may know, we don't have as many apples in the basket, so to speak, as my brother leaders up here. But for the Little Shell Tribe, we have 5,200 members plus, and we're growing substantially. With that, some of you may know or not know, we're a state-recognized tribe. We're not federally recognized, so we've been both blessed and cursed. And we've been cursed in the sense that we don't have access to federal funding for such things as housing, schools, health care, etc. for our members. But we've been blessed in the sense that we don't have trappings of the reservation that bring on this high unemployment, drugs, alcohol, that kind of problem. On the business front, or economic front, the Little Shell are becoming more and more economically self-sufficient. And that, with the help from the state of Montana, we've opened up a cultural center, purchased a building, opened our Little Shell Cultural Center. We also have an event center that's currently being built up there on historic Hill 57. And also with the help of the Flathead Tribe, we were able to purchase ourselves some land, and we're going to do a new business venture, which will help, provide jobs, services for our veterans, and maybe some scholarships for our members, our youth. One issue I'd like to bring up is some access to some federal contracts, government contracts for our members. We have a lot of smart, independent businessmen and businesswomen that have to go after business just like everybody else in the United States, because we don't have these federal funds coming in. Our was $10 to $11 million. They did not ask one Alaska Native company or an American Indian company to bid on it. That's what blocks the economic development in the country. All we're asking for is the opportunity to bid on these in a fair and open system if it affects our members, or all Indian people. With that, I'd like to thank Senator Tester for our bill. We're always looking for a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Good job, by the way, on a co-sponsor. Ivan, they stole all your time, so I'm sorry you can't.
Okay.
Go ahead and go. And
Okay.
it's great to have you here representing Montana.
Yeah.
Tribal Leaders Council.
I say, it's good to be here in northern Wyoming again. But, yeah, well, I was talking to my sister, I hadn't seen her for a while up there, and I was saying what ties I have up here from Wyoming. And actually, our last chief was Flathead, and was captured off the battlefield and led us to a pretty good place down here in Wyoming. But appreciate seeing you both again. Good afternoon, my name is Ivan Cozy, and I serve on the Eastern Shoshone Business Council from the Wind River Indian Reservation in Wyoming. I currently serve the chairman of the Montana Wyoming Tribal Leaders Council based out of Billings, Montana. I would like to thank the distinguished senators, Cantwell and Tester, for having us field hearing to listen to the charge on how to improve economic development on our reservations. As the senators are aware, our reservations are located in mostly rural areas. This is a first challenge for many tribes in Montana and Wyoming. Most reservations in our region have no tax base, which is essential to generate revenue from much needed services. Energy companies who do business are sometimes faced with double or triple taxation. And tribes receive little benefit from taxes imposed by states and local counties. Our tribal communities are faced with serious health issues, which affect all aspects of our efforts to become more self-sufficient, and in turn are positive steps towards economic development. In order to realistically look at enhancing economic development in Indian reservations, it is important to also address the health of our communities. Many tribes are involved with gaming, and it has been beneficial. In the state of Montana, tribes have pursued expanded gaming opportunities, which will allow them to create more employment and assist in providing more revenue to tribal governments. These efforts are still active yet. Natural resource management is also very important to our tribes. Timber, water, oil and gas, green energy, and coal are plentiful on many of our reservations. Many tribes have been managing these resources for over a century. Tribal colleges and tribal education programs are very important to economic development efforts. A well-educated and trained workforce is the key to maintaining a strong business. On most reservations, the largest employers are the Revenue Affairs, Indian Health Service, local school districts, and tribal governments. Gaming has helped tribes create employment, but we still have progress to achieve. Another example that is in the forefront of our Tribal Leaders Council is the opportunities under the Cabell Settlement regarding the land buyback program. Instead of hiring more government employees, it makes sense to allow tribes to administer the efforts at the local level. Many tribes have been managing their own land programs for decades. They know the process and the people to make this a success. Plus, it will create more jobs and training for our own tribal members. In summary, the efforts toward meaningful economic development needs to include efforts to address a more streamlined process for energy development, address avenues that would allow tribes to create and sustain a tax base, fully fund the historically underfunded agencies who deal with the health of our communities, such as Indian Health Service, the VA, SAMHSA, and other federal agencies, housing, and law enforcement. Make the process of exporting our services and goods to outside entities and make it a more effective process. Increase funding for tribal colleges and tribal education and training programs. Utilize existing federal programs and partner with tribes to effectively address economic development opportunities. And it is the federal government's responsibility to honor treaties and executive orders made with the indigenous people of this country. I'm positive these efforts can be productive in our communities while protecting our sovereignty and jurisdiction. I'm honored to provide this testimony as chairman of the Montana Wyoming Tribal Leaders Council. Hui. Thank you.
Ivan, thanks for coming up. You're always welcome in Montana. Thanks. Leonard Smith is with the Native American Development Corporation. Leonard, you're up.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Tester, for inviting me to speak today with Senator Cantwell with the Indian Affairs Committee of the Senate. It is an honor for me to appear before Senator Cantwell in my capacity as Director of the Native American Development Corporation, headquartered in Billings, Montana. NADC is a 17-year-old nonprofit corporation providing technical assistance and training for business and economic development for Native American communities. In 2001, NADC became a certified Native Community Development Financial Institution, Native CDFI. As a Native CDFI, NADC provides microloans and larger loans for private Native business startup and expansions in Montana and Wyoming. In 2009, NADC also became an American Indian Procurement Technical Assistance Center, PTAC, operated through a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Defense Logistics Agency. As a PTAC, NADC offers a wide range of services to Native American-owned businesses to assist in procuring and successfully competing for government contracts. Through this program, our corporation expanded our services area to include the reservations in the states of North Dakota and South Dakota. In 2011, NADC began to provide feasibility studies, business plans, and structured private financing methods with federal funding for reservation-based sustainable projects, such as wellness centers, housing, and tribal enterprises. NADC is becoming a one-stop shop in partnership with federal resources, providing technical assistance for economic development and sustainability. As you may know, 8 out of the 10 of the poorest counties in America, as measured by per capita income, are counties located on Indian reservations. 6 of those 10 counties are in the NADC service area. Some of the challenges still faced by NADC and other Native CDFIs with their borrowers include supportive legal environments, physical infrastructure, workforce development, entrepreneurial capacity, ability to collateralize mortgages, and lack of private sector providers. Other challenges faced by tribal governments are federal regulations that tie their hands when trying to promote economic development on the reservations. The Department of Treasury CDFI program has an existing carve-out in a Native American CDFI Assistance NAFTA program. Without such a carve-out, Indian country will continue to be at risk of being crowded out of the intense competition by other low-income communities whose larger populations support the formation of more CDFIs. Many rural Native reservation communities do not have the same degree of sophistication and specific technical skills needed to compete with more urban areas where the economy of scale allows for specialized professional full-time support of CDFI application writing and implementation. NADC is one of 2 Native CDFIs in Montana, with several more in the emerging stages, but need access to more financial assistance funds through the CDFI program to build capacity. Given the historic lack of financial management skills and access to financial services in the Native communities in Montana, Native CDFIs have an increased need for operating capital to sustain enhanced development services to support their lending products. The Department of Health and Human Services recognized this situation and created the Native Asset Building Initiative, which combined sources of lending capital and operating capital into one initiative. This effort serves as a best practice which could be replicated by other federal and private funders. We would like to request oversight guidance from the U.S. Senate Committee on Indian Affairs to implement more of these best practices for reservations in rural areas. The Department of Treasury also promotes access to capital and local economic growth through a new market tax credit program by providing an allocation of tax credits to community development enterprises, which enables them to attract investment from the private sector and reinvest these amounts in low-income communities. In the last round of U.S. Treasury funding, Indian country was completely shut out of the new markets tax credit program. Not a single Native CDE was selected for an award in the most recent round of allocations announced by the CDFI fund. This puts hundreds of millions of dollars in Indian country pipeline projects at risk. We would like to recommend that the Congress permanently include a Native American new market tax credit set aside of 3% of any future allocations annually by the CDFI A Native American New Market Tax Credits competition would be administered with the main annual allocation competition. We are attaching letters of correspondence with the Department of Treasury regarding the carve-out for New Market Tax Credits and a briefing paper for the record. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thanks. Okay, we've got 5 minutes for a few questions, and that means they're gonna have to be very short, and, yes, sir, go ahead.
Senator Tester, I'd like to thank you and Senator Cantwell for giving us the opportunity to express our concerns today. I have two. One is the buyback program. I think Montana is an ag industrial site, and so are Indian reservations. This buyback program pertains to our land, the most important thing that we have left. In fact, the only thing that we have left. Everything else has been taken from us. I'd like to get this buyback program into the employment or the economic sector so that we can benefit from it instead of a few government wood shops that come down here and tell us how they're going to show us how to buy land. Well, we've been doing it already. Like Chairman Anketell said, we've been doing it for decades. Also, in the past 6 months now, from March to today, Fort Belknap, we purchased $200,000 worth of land, a little over 1,000 acres of land. And those guys are still trying to do a plan, work out something to
Gotcha.
show us how to do that.
Gotcha. What you're saying is you can do it better on the ground than the federal government bureaucracy can do it.
And faster.
Okay. What's the
That's
second
all
one?
we want to do. We want to thank both you guys for hosting us in Washington last May. And I just talked to Senator Campbell earlier this afternoon, and we are going to have hearings on this, right?
Yes.
Very good. The other thing I think I want to talk about is the Farm Bill itself. I think it impacts all of us. Our hot lunches for our students,
Yes.
SNAP program, and I think we need to get that thing through.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. I've gone around my state in this month and tried to encourage this discussion. And I know that we got a lot going on, but this expires on September 30th, which means some of these programs will revert back to like 1949 or 50. And some of these things that were well established in commodity titles will disappear as well. The ag research will disappear. So I just hope that we can get our colleagues to realize that we have to get this done. It's in the best economic interest of our country. If you said, what's the biggest economic thing we can get done in the next 30 days, it would be pass the Farm Bill. So thank you for bringing that.
Good afternoon, Senator Tester and Senator Cantwell. I'm Dr. Billy Jo Kitt, President of Blackfeet Community College. I'm here to represent the tribal colleges and to express our need. The tribal colleges often is the second or third largest employer in Indian country. In Montana, we have 7 tribal colleges. A recent study by the Lumina Foundation found that the tribal colleges in the North Dakota, 5 of them, contributed over $200 million to the economy of North Dakota. We now are working with the Montana Policy and Budget program to look at the economic development and the contributions that tribal colleges make to the community and to the surrounding areas. The other thing is that the tribal colleges is a training ground for all of our people that these individuals, these leaders are talking about. We train more nurses and more teachers than any institution in the United States. The tribal college does it. Yet we do it at a great cost. We are appropriated only $5,600 per student, compared to historically black universities who are appropriated $19,000 per student. We're asking, tribal colleges are asking and really requesting very affirmatively that we be funded at the level that we've been promised, which is $8,000, far less than historically black colleges, yet we still do the same amount of work. The other thing that I wanted to talk about and to request is that tribal colleges, as with our great leaders here, be exempt from the sequestration. We already function at a bare bones income. And the Farm Bill, passing the Farm Bill will add to the tribal colleges. The USDA is one of our largest grantors, and we often are required to pair with a 1980 land grant institution. We're 1994. The tribal college leadership is often PhDs such as myself, who lead the tribal colleges and who can oversee research grants. BCC has one of the largest research grants in the country, preparing our young people for health careers opportunities. With given that, I want to request that the committee look at the health disparities of our Indian people, and it was alluded to by our great leaders. But when you look at the funding level of Indian people, we're funded proportionately at $2,130 per person for Indian tribe, where the penal system, federal prisoners are funded twice that. So the health care of our people isn't even at the funding level of federal prisoners. And so I'm asking for you all to take a look at that. And this is probably all old news. My whole goal is that the tribal college is the training, we're workforce development, we're education, and to look at how we're funding and appropriate the funding level that we've been given. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Chairman Campbell, do you want to do the closing remarks?
Well, I just want to say again, thanks to everybody for being here today and for their input. Just about every one of you mentioned this issue of education, workforce, economic opportunities by increasing the skill level of or access to capital for members of your tribe. So that's not lost on me, and we've been in other parts of the country where we've talked about this issue as it relates to WIA and the changes that they're trying to make in the, what's the name of the section, 10477 section. So if you're users of that, please send us a letter and tell us how that's being used effectively, because that's one thing that people are trying to cut right now, and so we need to make a case for that. But anyway, this is obviously, as I said in my opening statement, Indian country is not monolithic. Each of you had your particular issues and your particular challenges, and we certainly hear what you have to say as it relates to sequestration. And I hope that we can get something, we're certainly working with Senator Baucus on looking at a grander approach to reforming our tax code, which hopefully would, give a better economic boost to the country and make the right investments. So we're going to be discussing lots of that, but we can't continue with the level of sequestration that we're at now. It's like an unstrategic cut instead of being more strategic about what we can do for the future. So we are going to continue to have hearings on a variety of these issues, and so we'll certainly include this kind of information in the discussions that we have back there. And we certainly, under Senator Tester's leadership, are going to continue to focus on the legislation that he's brought before the committee, which, as I said, are a variety of these water issues. So I just thank him again for his leadership and for doing such a great job in the United States Senate.
Thank you very much for your comments, and thank you very much for being here. Before I get into my comments, there's a few people I want to recognize. As somebody who served in Congress for 18 years, and somebody who put it on the line for Native Americans every day that he served in Congress is here. Congressman Pat Williams, please do that. Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't congratulate Cheryl Belcourt on her new appointment as Executive Director of the Montana Wyoming Tribal Leaders Council. As we all know in this room, you've been through some challenging months, and we appreciate your leadership for Indian country. Thank you for doing that. Somebody who is going to think I'm doing this because I'm embarrassing, but somebody who's been a great help putting on this little discussion that we've had today that works here at the law school, Dan Belcourt. Thank you very, very much. And somebody who is always working in the background, and you never hear about him, but is absolutely the brains of Committee, Mary Pavel. Thank you very much. As some of you know, my wife and I spent we celebrated our 36th year of marriage yesterday, and Charlotte's here, and we want to make sure it gets to 37, my wife Charlotte. And Maria Cantwell, thank you very much for being here. I can tell you, I know how busy your schedule is, and it's incredibly busy, and for you to take time out and come in here from the leadership of Indian country here in the state of Montana is critically important. You could have been doing 100 different things, including being back in Washington, D.C., getting briefed on Syria, and you're not, you're here. And I just want to thank you for that, because I think it's so critically important that our leadership, and you as chairman of the Indian Affairs Committee, be able to see the challenges that are out here. And I think the folks around this table represented their tribes and their Indian folks very, very well. You laid out the issues, you know what they are. And we've just got to roll up our sleeves and do what we can do to make things better, because I think that as things get better in Indian country across this country, things get better for this country. So thank you for being here, and I want to thank all of you for being here. Special thanks to the folks at the table up here. Thank you all for taking time out and making the trip to the western side of the country. So thank you all very much. God bless.